Since 2017, the Italian Wine Podcast has exploded and expects to hit 6 million listens by the end of July 2023. We're celebrating this success by recognizing those who have shared the journey with us and giving them the opportunity to contribute to the ongoing success of the shows. By buying a paper copy of the Italian Wine Unplugged 2.0 or making a donation to help the ongoing running costs, members of the international Italian wine community will be given the chance to nominate future guests and even enter a prize draw to have lunch with Stevie Kim and Professor Attilio Scienza. To find out more, visit us at italianwinepodcast.com. Chin chin! Welcome to this special Italian Wine Podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinepodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Italian Wine Club on Clubhouse. It's now called The House, as you know. Today's guest is Fabio. I see Fabio. Ciao, Fabio.
Steve, ciao. Ciao,
How are you?
I'm very fine. Very happy to stay with you.
Yeah, I have some exciting news for all of us. We've just received the OIV Book Award. It's like the Book of the Year Award for Italian Wine Unplugged. It's very exciting.
Oh, fantastic. Bravo.
I know you're also a book lover because you had sent me the lovely book, the recipe book with beautiful photographs of Sicily from your wife,
Yes.
Melissa, right?
She's here with me.
Hey,
Yes,
ciao,
I'm here.
Melissa.
Hello,
Hey.
Ciao. Thank you. How are you?
How are you?
Good, good.
We have a tiny problem here because we don't have Beverly.
I see that. I see it. Oh, here she
I
is.
see Bev now. Hello, Bev.
Hi there, Stevie. How are you?
Good morning. Were you sleeping? I saw that you had sent through the chat what you were going to drink afterwards.
Pericone, yes.
Yeah, pericone. So very excited. So we're going to start. I just jumped in to quickly say hello. And Laika is sitting here with me because I have another impegno, but I will, of course, listen to this conversation on replay on Italian Wine Podcast. By the way, we have reached 6 million listens on SoundCloud, so amazing. And one of the more popular shows is absolutely Clubhouse. So I'm sitting right here next to Laika. She's going to take over. She has been our Clubhouse manager. We've been through 100 episodes just on Clubhouse alone. We've reached 1,500 episodes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so actually Joy, our Italian Wine Podcast, she's quitting on me. So Laika is going to take over from now onwards. So very exciting. Joy we're so grateful. She's lasted about 5 years already. I can't believe it. So it was about time. I think she's completely burnt out. I've erased every single brain cells. So we're going on our actually team building Gita tomorrow. So we'll all be together. So looking forward to that. And so Laika, over to you. Ciao ragazzi. Have fun.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao,
And
Stevie.
congratulations on the recognition for Italian
Thank you.
Wine
You know what
Unplugged.
that's like.
We
So
love
much
your
hard
book.
work. They say,
We
good
understand.
things happen to those who wait, but, better if you to those who work really, really hard.
Well, this book deserves it. It's definitely a benchmark book about Italian wine and the genetics behind.
Yeah, it's kind of
all the-
geeky, but, it
No,
is
we
what
love
it
it.
is.
We love it. We talk about it all the time. So.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Ciao, Fabio. Ciao,
Ciao,
Bev.
ciao,
Ciao,
Stevie,
ciao.
ciao.
Before we begin, I would like to introduce to all our audience, Bev. So Bev, she's a wine enthusiast and lifelong learner, retired as a registered nurse, International Sommelier Guild Level 2, through Wine Scholar Guild, French Wine Scholar, Rhone Masters, and Italian Wine Scholar. Italian Wine Maestro, taught by Marcia Hamm, Italian wine expert. And she's actually here in the room, I think. Yeah, Marcia is here. Ciao, Marcia. Okay, and Bev is
our Italian Wine Ambassador 2022 in Verona. So her intention is to return to Verona to achieve the expert level. So before I begin turning over to Bev, I would like to ask you, Bev. Hi, Bev. Hello.
Hello, Laika.
So tell us why you selected Fabio Sireci as your favorite producer.
Quite simply, I enjoy his wines for taste and food pairing, and more importantly, for the story that's in the bottle. And I really respect the effort, the patience, and the minimal intervention he puts into his grape growing and making the wine. And there's such a uniqueness about Sicilian wines that you just can't duplicate.
Right. And what are the learning objectives that we should expect from this interview?
To learn more about Fabio and how he developed his wines, his approach, what he grows, and the history of Feudo Montoni, because it's a very ancient history. And just to develop some appreciation of what comes out of Sicily and the people behind it.
I'm really looking forward to this. And last question is, how did you discover the wines of Feudo Montoni?
Well, it was a virtual tasting during the dark days of pandemic lockdown. So Gurvinder Bhatta, who's one of the 3 Italian wine experts in our province of Alberta, organized this. So Gurvinder is an importer of wine. And I've referred to him as the wine unicorn because allegedly he lives here, but there's really rare sightings of him. But he does travel extensively to promote small producers of unique and exceptional wines. So during the lockdown, we went out, had to wait outside the store. They brought it to the car, everybody's masked up. So we purchased a lot of Feudo Montoni wines. And with that, we had a list of authentic Sicilian recipes that we could cook to pair with the wine, just to get a more local flavor of the experience. And coincidentally, during lockdown, I turned to using a lot of cookbooks because we couldn't eat out. So I searched out cookbooks that had used a lot of eggplant because I love eggplant. And it was a cookbook called Sicily by Fabio's wife, Melissa Muller. So we were able to cook the recipes and drink the wine and connect over the internet half a world away. So it was a lovely connection when we couldn't go out anywhere because of COVID.
It's really a connection because of a common passion. So that's really amazing. So I'm going to mute myself and I will turn over the floor to you, Bev. So
thank you, Laika. I'd like to introduce you to Fabio Sireci, who is a 3rd-generation winemaker in central Italy for Feudo Montoni wines. And he's originally educated as a mechanical engineer. The land has been producing grapes since about 1469. And Melissa Muller is his wife and a former chef and restaurant owner in New York. And she cooks a lot of beautiful food that complements the land that also grows the grapes. Fabio not only produces grapes, but durum wheat and legumes and olives as well. Hello, Fabio.
Hello, Bev.
Fabio, what did you do today?
Oh, it was a very busy day, like always. Now today the day is focused on the harvest for the durum wheat, and today is the time in which we are making the durum wheat collection. We have a vineyard, we have grape, but we have 2 other production, like as I said before, honeysuckle, like lentils, like chickpeas, and durum wheat. Sicily is very famous for the durum wheat for pasta.
Yes, even in like Roman times, Sicily was the bread basket for the rest of Italy and growing. Fabio, who convinced you to make your own wine? You were growing grapes, but which of your neighbors thought that your wine could stand on its own?
I can say that no one convinced me. No. It's something that was born in my heart. That, of course, it was like a seed that was put from my family, my father, mama, my grandfather. I lived always in Montoni, so from ever I was in the wine world, in the grape world. And we must to consider that my area, where Feudo Montoni is completely isolated in the sense that we have no other winery close of us except of Tasca d'Almeri, Terre Cagliari. That is the only one close of Montoni, 20 kilometers to us. So I can say that this is something that came from the soul.
It's your DNA. Fabio, when I tried to figure out where Feudo Montoni is, I looked at the map on your website, and it was a map from 1154 under King Roger II, who was at that time King of Sicily and Africa. So Feudo Montoni looks like it's at the junction of three important valleys. Can you tell me a little bit about the history of the land?
The history of the land is very huge because it take the history from Spanish domination first of all, and the owner was aristocratic family from Spanish during, of course, the Spanish domination. Later, there was the domination of the church that from the north, Cefalù is a famous village, touristic now village of Sicily. The church has a big and huge land that was owned and that was managed by the church, city of Vatican of Rome, and Montoni was included in this area. Later, in the 18th century, the owner was the Cardinal of Catania. It was a very beautiful period because this Cardinal of Catania, that was to a noble man, a noble family, increased strongly the vineyard, the grape cultivation, and the wines. And in the 18th century, at the end of the 18th century, my grandfather bought the land from the Cardinal of Catania. And then my grandfather, my father, now me, and I hope now my two beautiful boys that we have.
Italian Wine Podcast, brought to you by Mama Jumbo Shrimp.
I understand your boys help you out, do they?
Yeah, they are very small. Elio is 3 years old. He has a small bag in which he has the la forbice,
The scissors to cut.
the scissor to cut. He has a small piccola zappa.
A little hoe.
He follows the employee every day. He doesn't want to take the food to eat with us. He wants to stay with him, and I am very happy because he's starting to have to grow the roots in the underground of Montoni.
Well, that sounds much more enriching than watching an iPad or something for a child. So why do you refer to Feudo Montoni as an island within an island?
The history help to be from ever isolated in different sense. First of all, geological, we are in the top of a mountain at 800 meters above sea level. We are like an hermitage, completely isolated from all, from everyone, from any other cultivation, from every other farmer. As I said before, the vineyard is completely isolated from other vineyard. That's very important for the pureness of the genetic code that are in the vines. It was the so-called the granary of the Roman Empire because it was first grown here, the durum wheat. And from ever, here, it's like a part of Sicily that is, in my opinion, for explorator, not for touristic. That's why very important writer like Pirandello, Quasimodo, Sciascia wrote about Sicily. Filmmaker like Tornatore with the Star Maker, the Gattopardo too, they filmed and moved here because this, I think that Sicily we can divide in the two big area: the tourist area, amazing area like Taormina, Palermo, Agrigento, and so on, and then the heart that is, if you want to know the soul of the Sicilian people, and if you want to understand the soul of the land, you should come here. And as I said you before, we are in the middle, in the perfect middle of Sicily, where starts the three big valleys, Valdemone, Valdinoto, and Valdimazzara. That was the three valleys that divided Sicily. We could remember the Arabian flag that has the three legs.
The valley, it comes from the Arabic, and valley means governing, not valley as in geographical.
Depression, yeah.
and the governance, because the island was strategically divided into these three areas for rule during the Arabic period. But that stayed very prevalent throughout the centuries, even after the period of Islamic rule finished.
Well, Sicily is so deep in history and many, many layers of culture, isn't it? Fabio, that was a wonderful comparison to the Hill of Hermitage, because Etna gets a lot of attention because of its elevation, but the inside of Sicily has very high altitude vineyards as well.
Right. Etna, of course, is an amazing volcano. It's 3,300 meters. But in the Sicily, we are, for example, Montoni, that is 800 meters above sea level. We are between two big mountains. It's Madonia Mountains. It's 2,000 meters, and Monte Camerata, that's 1,500 meters above sea level. Monte Camerata is the highest mountain of the west side of Sicily. Etna is the highest mountain of the east side of Italy. So we are in the top of the
rooftop of Sicily.
The rooftop of Sicily. That's helped us very, very much for everything that we do.
Sicily is 24% mountain.
That is amazing. It is.
And 60% hill, and the plainlands are about 15%.
Wow. Fabio, what crops do you harvest first and what do you harvest last in the season?
Starting from when, Bev?
Now.
Okay.
No. Okay.
Now we are harvesting the durum wheat, the lentils, the chickpeas, and then the grapes for the wines, then the olive for the olive oil.
Okay. Which grapes are first to ripen usually?
Depending of the vintages, but more or less is the first one that open the shows is the Grillo.
Okay. And the last?
It's the Perricone. Sometime with Perricone grape, we arrived at the beginning of November.
That is late. Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So on the island of Sicily, you get the cold winds from the north and there's hot winds off of Africa. Do both those winds come to your vineyards, or is one stronger than the other?
Yes, through the valleys that we talked before, across Sicily, as you said before, the cold wind from the north, that is the Tramontana or Maestrale, and from the south is the Scirocco wind that is more hot. And of course, sometime this wind from Africa, more in the last years, could be a bit to take in very observation and very, I would say, the attention, because it could be very hot. We had last 2 days in Sicily of the highest temperature of the last 3 years, except for 2021, that in Syracuse there was 48, is I well remember. That is the highest temperature of ever of Europe.
Oh my.
So
How did you survive?
Right. We are here in Montoni, so we are in the mountain. So we during the daylight, of course, we have not 47, but we have I can say 38. But in the evening, we have always a chilly temperature. We have always a very strong difference between the night and day of the temperature. And this is for us the help that give the possibility to the vines to breathe.
The diurnal temperature fluctuation. Wow. Fabio, you don't buy new vines from nurseries. You do your own massal selection. How do you do that to keep the DNA pure in your vineyards?
I can say that I am lucky in the sense that everything that I have now, of course, came from the past, and everything is something that was used to grow from my father. Everything here is very natural, is very, I can say, like a serenity approach to the wine world. But what I found in Montoni, for me, at the beginning of my wine job 30 years ago, was not so happy how I can be now. In the sense that, for example, Nero d'Avola.
Okay.
In Montoni, we have very old vines of Nero d'Avola, pre-Fillossera vines, because my grandfather bought the land and there was already these vines, huge vines, old vines. So we can say that the Cardinal of Catania had. So that means that these vines came from the middle of the 18th century. So when I started to make my wine, Fabio wine, my generation, that is different of my father generation, because my father generation was the generation that made the wine for high degree to sell to the north of Italy, to sell to other country, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
But my generation was a generation more curious to make not wine for other country, not wine for other winery, but
Okay.
for us. But the problem was when I started to travel with my bottle under the wing
Okay.
and to present in the wine tasting, to present to the wine importer at the beginning in the Europe with my old car, with the car of my father. And everyone said, for example, about Nero d'Avola, that I prefer to call Calabrese. Anyway, no, this is not Nero d'Avola. And they say to me 20 years ago, 30 years ago, oh, no, this is not Nero d'Avola of Sicily. And I
Why?
say,
Fabio, what did it taste like to them?
the problem was what they, the buyer, the wine opinion leader, know about Sicily. 30 years ago was not communicated the island in the different terroir, in the different wine style that we can produce. So the world waits from Sicily a wines of the south. Dot. That means that it was and it must to be a wine heavy, jammy, structured, black in the color. And when I present my wine in the glass, that is completely the opposite. It's no black, it's not structured, it's no heavy, it's not jammy. They thought that it was not Nero d'Avola. So I came back in Sicily very frustrated, and it was for me very difficult to take for the next harvest. But all my raw material here were what I have, of course, and I continues to make my wine, Feudo Montoni wine, the wine that is not colored, not jammy, not structured, and so on, not Sicilian. Then the my lucky was in the 2000 to meet Giacomo Takis, the famous winemaker of Sassicaia, of Antinori, and so on. He was the director of the Istituto Regionale of the Vite del Vino, that was called here from the lovely Diego Planeta, that was the director of the Istituto Vite Vino. And Diego Planeta, the Baron, Diego Planeta, very amazing brain, understood that we should communicate the other Sicily wines. And he called Giacomo Takis here to study the grape, to study the terroir, to study the different wine. And when I say the study, it means the genetic code, it means the history, and of course, to present to the world with the power of the Giacomo Takis brain without being afraid to say something that could be different of what the world was looking for. And Giacomo Takis and Diego Planeta, and of course other people, take this way and choose the different area and start to communicate to the world that Sicily has no one Nero d'Avola, no one Catarratto. Sicily is the largest island of Europe, largest island of the Mediterranean. So Sicily is a continent. And when the Giacomo Takis tested our wines, Brucara, for example, the Nero d'Avola Prefillosera, he said that he was completely surprised of the wine that he tested, completely different of the wine that he tested here before. And Giacomo Takis and Diego Planeta was for me the people, the men that gave to me the courage to say to the world what is for me Nero d'Avola of Montoni, and that not appellation, not black, not structured, not jammy, were not a negative communication, but it was something to say here we have a different area. For example, Montoni has wines with very high freshness, high acidity, low pH, and for the Nero d'Avola, that is the more famous in the world, the grape, it's completely different than the other area. It's if we can give a color to the wines, well known Nero d'Avola Sicily is more in the direction of the red color, is more in the direction of the sherry, of the red fruits. In Montoni, no. He has a very minimal part that the expression is of the fruits, of the red fruits, of the sherry, but is more expression of menthol, eucalyptus, mint. It's a world that is in the land of Montoni. That was the key that the switch on in my mind to follow what the past gave to me.
You followed your instincts and you had good encouragement from your colleagues.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. To have those pre-phylloxera vines is very, very special. But what is that plant, that mint plant that grows wild, that it's named after?
I care of you because, Bev, you know every particular of Montoni. So thank you, Bev.
You have a wild mint plant that grows up there.
Right. It's called the Vruka.
Veruca. I couldn't pronounce it. Veruca. Okay, and that's what you name your pre-phylloxera vines after. Yeah.
It's a old and very Sicilian typical wild grass that is in the Vrucara crew. That's resinous. If you crush, it's menthol. It's like a peppermint, and it's there in the Vrucara land from ever, from century and century. And probably there could be a genetic marriage. I don't know. It's something that I say, but could be.
Okay. Last November, I had the good fortune to attend a Gita Scholastica through Vinitaly to Sicilia DOC. And we were based on the West Coast in the little town of Trapani. So one morning, we had a master class that was held by the incomparable Filippo Bartolotta on Nero d'Avola. And Filippo guided us through 8 different Nero d'Avola, grown at 6 different altitudes, starting at 50 meters above sea level, and then 150, and then 200, and all the way up to about 600 meters above sea level. So it was really impactful to see that transformation from the dark, tannic, rustic Nero d'Avola. And as we moved up the wines to the higher elevations, they got slightly paler, just a little bit. And the alcohol dipped a little bit. And there was more floral, a bit more mineral. There was this ping of saline. And you could really taste and see the evolution of the wine growing from near sea level up to a higher altitude. So it was probably the most worthwhile tasting that I have done, just to have those wines in front of me, guided by Filippo. So when you say that your Nero d'Avola is unique and is set apart from the others, I truly understand that.
For me, it's very exciting to be with my own history. That's very long, but it's very interesting how much kaleidoscopic is Sicily. I would like to communicate to the world, like you said before, that here there are more or less, I can say, 8, 10 different Nero d'Avola, completely different one by the other, and amazing one for different reason by the other. This could be for me the Nero d'Avola communication 2.0, because I am a bit tired to be for example, when I received a phone call from a buyer and he said, okay, I would like to buy a Nero d'Avola. I said, I have not, because it's a very stupid question. It's a very stupid approach. If the buyer say, I want one Nero d'Avola, we are not making bulloni,
Screws or
we are not
inanimate
making
objects.
screws. There is not one Nero d'Avola. Sicily is not one Nero d'Avola. Sicily is something that who has a second level to approach with should be very considered like an amazing laboratory. It's another thing very important that is at the beginning of the rediscovering of the past, and it's at the beginning of the communication for the next future. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yes, in Italy, we focus a lot on the distinction between biotypes and where the grapes are from. Fabio, in front of me on my kitchen table, I do have one of your Nero d'Avolas. It's the Lagnusa 2018. So that means lazy in Italian. Will I be lazy after I drink it, or what?
Yeah. When you say the Lagnusa, for me is my big brother, is Nero d'Avola Lagnusa. Vrucara is Nero d'Avola Vrucara, that for me is my queen. Lagnusa, Nero d'Avola, is a vineyard that was grafted from us. As you said before, in Montoni, we have no one biotype that came from the nursery garden. I don't love the nursery garden in the sense that the word nursery garden it's too much claustrophobic for me, because the nature is so free and open that non dovrebbe esistere una stanza dove si decide.
It shouldn't exist a room where one decides.
So what I want to say is that different approach, different wines of the same grape, but we must to remember that now is helping us, for example, for Nero d'Avola and the other grape, is helping us the genetic history. In the beautiful book of Stevie with the Attilio Scienza, there is the genetic history of Nero d'Avola Calabrese, that is the Montonico. And this is starting to show that something cannot be more discussed about the origin of the genetic code, but the different expression of the Nero d'Avola came from the evolution of the biotype in the Sicily, because Montonico came from Calabria. Of course, the history that said the Attilio Scienza and Stevie in the Italian Wine Unplugged 2.0 say that everything came from the East. But the new approach is that what is now the word Nero d'Avola? What means autochthonous? Because I'm sorry if I am a bit going out of the question, but my passion about Nero d'Avola keeps me in some very important discussion. Genetically, we have discovered the origin. Now, we should say that where there is the best expression, and where come from the different expression of the wines. For example, Lagnusa, your questions,
Yes, my wine.
is another Nero d'Avola of Montoni. And in through, we have other crew with the other Nero d'Avola. Until today, I divide Montoni in more or less 20 vineyards about Nero d'Avola in Montoni. So I could make 20 different bottles, of course, for the different exposition, for the different altitude, for the different cultivation that are close of them. But the mother is always the Vrucara. But Lagnusa, that is in the hill called Lagnusa, Lagnusa in Sicilian language, that is different of Lagnusa in Italian language. Lagnusa in Italian, it means che si lagna, che si lamenta.
Someone who laments.
Here,
Okay.
In Italian.
In Italian. In Sicily, everyone and all the employee from ever call it this hill lazy hill because it produces a very small,
very low yields.
Because this hill is, of course, for high level of quality. But 80 years ago, the wine and the grape was not considered like now today, but was considered like food, like something that should be generous to give energy for the life for all the years. So they call it the lazy hill, Lagnusa hill, that in Sicilian language it means late starter.
Okay.
And it became my big brother in the sense that is the main focus in terms of communication of the Nero d'Avola after the Vrucara Prefillossera vines.
Well, I will probably open it tomorrow night for dinner when my friend Marcia comes over. We'll think about you and toast to your health with it tomorrow night.
Grazie. Don't forget
Grazie.
chili, to serve the chili.
Just a little bit chilled, okay. And speaking of genetics, I have two of your other wines in front of me, and we've learned through Professor Scienza that Pericone and Nerello Mascalese are actually offspring of Sangiovese.
Right.
So tell me about your Pericone. You call the wine Core or Heart?
Yeah.
Why?
The heart is the name of the crew where come from the Pericone of Montoni, because it has the form of a heart, and from ever it was called the Heart Hill. And the Pericone of Montoni is a very old too, and it has a very old history. It's called here Guarnaccia.
Okay.
It's a more cultivated grape after the Nero d'Avola and Catarratto in this center of Sicily. And is the grape cultivated by the farm, because the Pericone of here, Guarnaccia, that is different of the Pericone of the west coast, that is called the Pignatello, that was to the basis for the Marsala Ruby.
Uh-huh.
This Pericone is very, for me, fantastic because it's has a very strong berry. It's a very blue color, and it's a strong in the tannin, and very, very resistant of the disease, of the hot temperature. It's a bit wild.
The first time I tasted Pericone was at that virtual wine tasting a few years ago. And in the glass, when I was swirling it, and I love Syrah, I love French Syrah, but when I was swirling the Pericone, I got pepper and black licorice. And it was very aromatic, and it reminded me so much of a Syrah until I tasted it. And then it was very Sicilian. But I've never seen Pericone on the vine. But in my textbooks, it's supposed to be one of the longest bunches of grapes. How long are your bunches of Pericone?
They're very long clusters in very large, huge clusters. And that's also why there's so many green parts to them, because the berry itself is quite green, and the pit itself is also quite large and remains green. And the work that Fabio does in the vine to soften those tannins.
If we come back to the TV book with the Professor Scienza, we can see that Pericone came from Sangiovese, but then there is a genetic deriva in direction of the Alicante. That's very interesting. Something that it's in doubt for different study, but there is something that go in the direction of the. I am talking about Guarnaccia, Pericone Guarnaccia, our Pericone. That's very old. It's very important wine for me because it's a bit wild in the sense that if you make wine with a normal vinification process, it's a bit scalcitante, like a horse, like a crazy horse.
It needs to be tamed.
Okay. All right.
But
Let's talk about one of Perricone's brothers or sisters. It's the Nerello Mascalese. You have two, and one, the rose, is actually a love story in a bottle. Can you tell me about it?
the history is that my grandfather bought the land from the Cardinal of Catania, Francicanova, Barone Francicanava, and he had a vineyard in the Etna area and in Syracuse area. And my grandfather told that he had like a secretary, a priest that was called the priest Fog.
The cardinal had.
The cardinal, that bring and brought these vines from Montoni to Etna to Syracuse to Montoni, Etna to Montoni. And he brought this Nerello Mascalese in Montoni. And it found here a very perfect combination of climate, first of all, for the temperature, for the altitude. It's a mountain, we have the snow in winter time, and so on. So this is wines for the roses, wines that take the name from my mama, Rose of Adele. My mama is Adele, and my father dedicated a rose garden to Mama Adele. And it's a 40 years old plants handgrafted from the mother plants that came from the Cardinal of Catania, Francicanava. And then now, from 2 years, we have Nerello Mascalese Red, that is called the Terre di Elio. Elio is the name of my father, and this is the name of my son. And it's Terre di Elio because Nerello Mascalese Red was the wine loved and preferred from my father Elio, because he didn't like the wines that was heavy and lui diceva che tingono i bicchieri.
He would say that he didn't like the wines that stained the glass.
And this was the wine that he preferred and he drank. After here,
and he made.
This was the made, of course. After here, I didn't produce. Then, at the beginning, when there was the Etna beautiful sachets, I said, "Oh no, I prefer to not make Nerello Mascalese. That could be something compared with Etna." And then Melissa, my wife, said to me, "But why talk about comparison? Why you talk about competition? You are going in opposite situation of what is your history. You make your Nerello Mascalese, you make your wine." And it's a very interesting, in my opinion, challenge to test how the Nerello Mascalese has the expression out of the Vulcan. That is the perfect, of course, area where it could be. That's why Nerello Mascalese Terre di Elio of Montoni is a wine that has not wood. It stays only in the concrete, because I would like to transfer to the consumer the soul of the grape and of the wine.
Fabio, what type of soil does your Nerello Mascalese grow in?
The soil is a mixture between sandy and clay.
Okay.
We have the highest part is more sandy for the white wines, Cataratto, Grillo, and Solia. And then the medium and the lower area is a mixture clay and sandy.
Okay. So you grow Grillo, Cataratto, and Inzolia as your white wines. The Grillo, it is a lot like me. It sunburns easy. So do you trim a lot of the leaves back? Green pruning?
Yes, of course. We make the green pruning in April, because we must consider that here everything that we do is 1 month later than the area of wine cultivation in Sicily, lower in the term of altitude. So we make a very early green pruning, because Grillo has the attitude to make a strong vegetation. That is good, but in July, we would like to have a equilibrium between
the area around the leaves.
Then un eccesso di vegetazione. I don't like
excess of vegetation.
Okay, and it's on one of your steeper hills, isn't it? Because that's the name, Timpa.
Yes.
Yes. So your Inzolia, it's named after a vineyard like with furnaces or stoves. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah. Here in Montoni, where we lived, there is a building that is called Baio. Baio is the typical Sicilian building that was built on 1469, and 3 kilometers from the Baio, from the house where we are, there is a area full of clay where 6th century ago there was a oven to make the bricks that was used to make the building where we live, the Baio. So the name of this hill is Fornelli. Fornelli is it means where there was the oven.
So where they baked the clay to make things. Interesting.
Yeah.
All of your wines have a name that is associated with history or geography. It's really quite a descriptor of that.
Yeah, everything here take the name without a marketing research, without a marketing operation. It is what it is. It is what it was.
Okay. I really enjoy your white wines because they spend about 6 months on lees in concrete. So they get quite a beautiful, creamy texture to them. And they still have nice, juicy acidity, but they have such a gorgeous mouthfeel from staying on the lees for 6 months.
Yes, here the white wines has the maximum expression of the location where we are in terms of freshness. Sometimes people say that the wine that we produce, Catarratto, first of all, that is more expression in terms of acidity, and the Grillo with aroma, and the Insolia too, said that our white wines doesn't seem to be wines of the south, because of very high acidity and the low pH. And this balance is perfect to have beautiful combinations, very long in the final, and perfect for the pairing with the food, because food needs the acidity.
Okay. Fabio, I have one last question for you, and it is a very difficult one. Are you ready? Okay. What is the favorite meal that Melissa prepares for you? And what wine would you drink with it?
I can give the word to Melissa, but I can say that this meal is the reason and the key that where come from started our love history and our marriage. The recipes of Mamma Dele. I think that Melissa can explain better than me.
Fabio and I met while I was researching for my cookbook, and I asked him for one recipe from his family. And he told me the most important recipe is what we eat on Christmas and on Easter, which is the roasted goat of his mother.
I made that. Yes.
And you made that when we did the virtual tasting. What's so beautiful about it is that it's not only the dish that's so delicious and the aroma that fills the home during the holiday.
The question.
But it's very interesting. It's the animals graze on the land from our local organic shepherds. And it's a symbol of love. And so that dish became how we started communicating so often. And our love story started. And my mother-in-law said, I would ask for specifics about the recipe. And she would say, well, the dish is ready when it's ready. And then I would say, well, what temperature does the oven need to be at? All of these questions asked through Fabio. And she would say, when the oven is hot. And so Fabio and I had to keep speaking about this dish because I would constantly constantly ask for more details about how to make it. And
the answer
everything
of
spurs from
Mammadella
there.
probably was the anthropological study of the Sicilian
Exactly.
Mamma cuisine.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, I'm looking at the recipe right now in your book, Mama Adele's braised goat.
Exactly.
And yes, well, you won him over with love and your cooking, Melissa. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, that is all my questions.
Thank you to dedicate this beautiful conversation and prestigious podcast where we are, and to have chosen Montoni. And it's interesting that we met during a bad time, in sense of pandemic time. That was a time which everyone was isolated by the other people in the world, but through the wines we met, and through the wine we started a beautiful friendship. And now we are with all our friends, Laika, Stevie, and all the friends of Clubhouse. So thank you for
You're welcome.
your
Grazie
choosing.
mille.
Grazie a te, grazie.
You were our benchmark producer for Calabrese, Nero d'Avola, Catarato Bianco, Comune, and Grillo on our Italian Wine Unplugged 2.0.
Thank you. I read a lot of time Italian Wine Unplugged. Amazing book. Amazing
Everybody does, because it's really a good reference for Italian wine. Of course, with the advice of Professore Attilio Cienza. And so we've got 2 questions from Hugh Priest. He's also our Italian wine ambassador. So 2 questions. Do you produce a frappato? And then his second question is, what is your favorite variety to work with?
I don't produce frappato. I never production of frappato in Montoni. And now what I am going to do is to work in terms of grape, in terms of wine and vinification with the old and heritage grape that I have in Montoni. Some one of them I don't know the name because they are bush in the hill. They are unpruned, non sono potate. They're
unpruned. They look like wild vines.
It's something that came very from the past, of course, from the beginning of the history. And now we are starting the vinification and the study in terms of the genetic provenience.
Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, Bev. Thank you, Fabio. And thank you, Melissa, for this wonderful conversation. Before I end this conversation, I wanted to say that next week we're going to have a Clubhouse Summer Marathon before the summer starts. So we're going to have on August 2, Vinicius Mirago Santiago. He will be interviewing Flavio from Villa Sandi. And we also have on August 3, McKenna Cassidy. She will be interviewing Giorgio and Robert Bava. And also last, for August 4, Josie Van Oostrom will be interviewing Heidi Bonanini. All right, so thank you guys. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao, Laika. Ciao, Bev.
Ciao.
Ciao. Grazie.
Once again, here we go.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.